Okay. So, okay. Well, let's get going. And again, thank you for joining us here with real estate news and information up and down the I-275 and 23 corridor. We are uh, going to be talking about two communities today. Are the two communities we're going to talk about today are Northville and Redford. Um, we got some new real comp stats out this last week. So as we've explained before, we're about a half a month behind um, uh, getting that information out. So we have some of April's information for you on that. We're also going to talk about some four tips of to maximize the sale price of your home. We're going to talk, and we're going to also discuss some closing costs, what to plan for when you are the buyer, and what type of closing costs that you might be able to might be having when you make a purchase. So, to get going, once again, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them down below. We will be glad to answer your questions today. But we're going to start off with Northville. And one of the things that we're going to do a little bit different this time, we have been talking about single family homes in the past. Today we're going to talk with Northville. We're going to talk about condominiums and are how they're reacting in this type of market today. So again, this is coming from the Real Comp April 2021 report and condominium sales. We actually had more condominium sales in April of this year than last year. We went from 10 sales up to 18, which was a 80% increase. Days on the market went down quite a bit from 29 days on the market down to 12. And inventory of homes was from 48 to down to 20, a decrease of 58%. And when I said homes, those are condominiums that we're talking about. The month supply last year was 4.1 months worth of inventory, which is for inventory. Again, that's about a standard or stable market. It's not really a buyer's market or a seller's market when you're in the 4 or 5 month period, but it's down to 1.3 months worth of inventory. Now, how does that compare to the single family? And it's almost exactly the same, where we're at point 0.6 months worth of inventory right now for single family homes, down 82% from last year. And let's see, we had 39 sales last year in single family homes where we only had 12 this year. So you can see that those basically had decreases also. So the average sale of a condo went from 226 on up to 359. So the real estate market in Northville with condos is hot, just like everywhere else. In fact, we just closed one ourselves this last week in Northville. Nice 2-bedroom ranch condo out by 6 Mile and Ridge Road. Okay, what's going to happen today? We're talking about 4 tips of maximizing your sale of your home. We all know that the inventory is super low right now, so putting your house on the market right now could be a very good, decision on your part. Homeowners ready to make a move are definitely in a great position to sell today. Housing inventory is incredibly low, driven by buyer competition. This gives homeowners to sell for the best possible terms, and it fuels a steady rise in home prices. Okay, it is such a hot market. Houses are selling quickly, which we've talked about, and according to the National Association of Realtors, they've been selling in about 18 days. Now, that's a nationwide figure. Again, we are talking that they're probably selling more on the lines of about 10 days around here. Once they get through the first weekend, it's probably off the market. Okay. Making buyers feel at home. Okay, that's important. Even in this market, we need to realize that we need to get the house in great shape so that you can get those multiple offer situations and get the a feeding frenzy of buyers into your property so you can get the best offer possible for it. Okay, so one of the ways is to take time to declutter, take those magnets off the refrigerator. I always tell people there's two types of homes. There's one we live in, and I have the magnets. I have my grandkids' pictures on the walls. I have all that sort of stuff going on. That's the home that we live in. That's the home that we feel comfortable in. But there's also the home that we're going to sell, and that's where we want to make the buyer who's coming into the home feel comfortable in living in that in that property. So pack away any of the personal items, the pictures, awards, sentimental belongings, and a more neutral and tidy spaces. We want to keep it clutter free. Now, when a lot of agents say, "Yeah, take your pictures off of your family," I'm not that nitpicky about doing that type of stuff, but I do want you to, have, instead of having 4 or 5 things on the table, maybe only have 2 or 3 things on the table. We're going to look at maybe staging the property. And what is staging? Staging can be as simple as changing a color of a wall, or rearranging your furniture a little bit, throwing a throw pillow here, or a blanket there. It's just a little touch of from one place to another. It doesn't have to be a overall change of the property or the home. So as I said, it could be as simple as adding paint. A lot of times we go in with, especially with seniors who's lived in the home for a long time, we might say, let's change a light fixture. Let's change some flooring. Maybe, if there's some wear and tear on the carpet or something like that, we might want to change a room or two, just so I have a fresh look. But when you're staging, you shouldn't have to spend a lot of money to make that. You shouldn't have to spend a lot of money just to make a little money. That type of deal. And a lot of agents out there, they want you to have the home look like a dream home. Well, if it's been a home that's been there for 50 years, it's not going to look like a dream home. It's going to look like a home that has been well taken care of, is what you want. Okay, so what you want to do with those properties is, make sure that they're maintained, make sure that they look like they're maintained, and by that I'm saying, okay, maybe change out the air filter on your furnace, dust down the furnace and the hot water tank. We might rearrange the furniture, as I said, to make it an easy flow from the living room into the kitchen, into the dining room area, so it's not congested. And I know, sometimes there's maybe a chair at the front door or something that makes it a little bit harder to get in, but when you're in, it's nice to sit and talk to people and stuff like that. That's not necessarily what you want when you're selling the home. You want that flow going in and out. Okay, big thing is declutter. Take the knickknacks off your counters and things of that nature, your tabletops. You might as well pack them away. You're planning on moving anyway, so let's go ahead and pre-pack those things a little bit and get those off the tables and things. So those are a couple of tips that way. What they're saying is 82% of buyers agents say staging a home made it easier for the buyer to visualize the property as a future home. So that's what you're trying to do, is make it look like a property that they want to purchase and they want to live in. Okay. Now, what I explain to our sellers is there's usually 20% of the people out there really wouldn't make a whole lot of difference what you did to the home. They could visualize their family living in that home. They can see it in their mind, they can adjust it, and they can make changes in their mind. Okay, there's 20% out there that probably wouldn't make any difference what they would do unless it was laid out exactly the way they wanted it. It would be very difficult for them to visualize. But there's that 60% right in the middle that we're trying to make sure that we capture their imagination and able to make them feel like they could live there. So if you go into a model home for new construction, you'll see that there's very little furniture in there, but you'll see that the furniture is set up in a way where it's easy to walk through the home. It's easy to visualize that if you change this table or that table, we could you know, someone could actually live there and make it comfortable for them and their family. Okay, now 82% of the sellers agents said home staging increases the dollar value of the residence between 6 and 10%. So what we tell our sellers is, what if we ask them to change something in their home and they spend $1,000, we want to see them making $3 or $4, $5,000 back on their home. We want them to see it like as an investment, that we're actually trying to get them, make them more money when they're selling their property, and it's a good idea. Now, again, our philosophy on this is spend a little money to make a lot of money, not a lot of money to make a little money. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yes, it makes my job easier if you spend a lot of money making them look like a model home, but it's not necessarily you're going to get all that money back out of it when you turn around to sell it. So basically what you're trying to do is have that home visually pleasing for the buyer coming in. Okay, and that's when you're going to get the multiple offers. Okay, now tip number 2, and we all know this, is keeping the home clean. Especially in the kitchen and the bathrooms, you want to have, you know, you don't have any odors in those areas. Fresh caulking on the bathtub and around the sinks and that. You know, clean out the refrigerator and the stoves, all cleaned up. The countertops clean. You know, yes, you have your coffee in the morning. You know, have your coffee pot out and things of that nature. But at the same time, you know, make sure that the beds are made, and the especially when the day of showing, have the beds are made, or the countertops are cleaned off. There's no dishes. Have them in the dishwasher clean. No toys from the kids out and about in the yard. You know, yard equipment and things of that nature, all taken care of, all put away. And speaking about yards and sort of, one of the things I try to explain too is if the buyer feels like there's work there, like if you have trees in the yard, make sure the leaves are picked up or the grass is cut. So you don't want to you want to make sure that it doesn't look like there's a lot of work to maintain the property. Okay, people see that, they start adding up costs, they start adding up time to maintain it, and that's where you won't get your return on your money that we want to have. Okay, other thing here is access for the buyers. Now, I come from a retail background, and if the doors were shut, we weren't selling anything at the time. So when the doors are open, we're able to sell the property. So make it as easy as possible to have buyers come into your home. Have a day, day and evening and weekends. Okay, if you have a special occasion coming up or something like that, we can block off times through a special, Thursday evening with no showings or something of that nature. But there's an opportunity that you could have an out-of-town buyer looking at properties that day that would like to see your property, and they can't see it. You miss an opportunity. So the more available your property is, the better chance that you are going to have multiple offers on that property. Okay, we understand that with the restrictions going on nowadays, what we try to do is block off where we don't have the overlapping of agents coming in. We used to do that in the past because it's created that feeding frenzy on the property, where one buyer would come in and we would overlap them with another agent who's showing the property. But we don't do that now. We're trying to keep half-hour blocks in between each one of them. So that's just for safety cautious right now. Okay, and the fourth one here is pricing the property correctly. Again, if you overprice in this market, the buyers are very knowledgeable of what's going on in today's market. They are very understandable. They're well educated on what's going on. So if you overprice it, you're not going to get those multiple offers. You might get an offer, but it's not the offers that you're going to want. You could get a lot better offers. Let's put it that way. Okay. Even in the seller's market, is critical to set your home at the right price, the maximum selling potential. Pricing your house too high is actually a deterrent to the sale. The goal is to drive high attention from competing buyers and let the buyer wars push the sale price upward. Okay, and that's why we're having over asking price bids on properties right now. So it's important to price it right, do the correct market analysis on the property, and it also comes down to when the appraiser comes in and appraises the property, they understand that the agent who is doing the job knows what he or she is talking about too. So it's very important that they get that, because the appraiser will see that if it was listed at the right price, makes their job easier. Making their job easier, you might get the best opportunity on the appraisal value coming in, for the buyer and the seller. Okay, let's talk about Redford. And now, with Northville, we talked about condominiums. There's not a whole lot of condominiums going on in Redford, so we're going to jump back to the single-family homes. Days on the market this year are only 12 days on the market in Redford in April. Last year was 28 days. The average sale price went from 117, almost 118, on up to 146. Again, inventory is down to 36 homes in April compared to 134 of 2020. Less than a half a month, 15 days worth of inventory. So we're going to gobble those homes up, those 36 homes up in 15 days. We need to get more inventory out there for. So if you're thinking about selling your house in Redford, it's a great time to be putting it on the market right now. So, but that goes up and down the whole 275 and 23/4 right now. As we spoke before, we're down about 50%, 55% in some cases of inventory, and that's just supply and demand. Now, I understand if I am the seller, where am I going to go? We have a lot of options in doing, putting your house on the market or going out and buying your house before you put your house on the market. And I know that's uncompetitive. It's a great market right now, especially if you're downsizing to get into that smaller house, because you're going to buy up here, or excuse me, you're going to sell up here and be able to buy down here. That percentage of dollars that you're saving is great. So the senior market is huge right now. So if you're a senior thinking about downsizing, actually now is the best time to be doing that type of buying and selling going on. In fact, I'm meeting with a client here this afternoon to do just that. Okay, let's talk about budgeting for a closing if you're a buyer. Okay, yeah, I think we've all sort of talked about in the past that it's important to budget for your down payment. Say if you're going to make a 10% down, we'll use this as an example. If you're buying a $300,000 home, you're putting 10% down on it. It's easy math. Even geniuses like myself can figure this out. $10,000 or $30,000, $30,000. So, but there's other costs involved when you are purchasing the home. Okay, when buying a home, it is important to budget and make sure you plan ahead for certain home buying expenses. Okay, saving the down payment, as we mentioned, is the main cost that comes in mind, but budgeting for closing costs requires to get a mortgage in just as important. So when you close on a home, a number of fees are due. They typically range from 2% to 5% of the total cost of the home, and it will include things like insurance, origination fees with the mortgage, underwriter fees, document preparation, okay, and there's a few more on that too. So let's take an example of that $300,000 home. Okay, so we're saying that there's somewhere between 2 and 5%. So that's $6,000 to $15,000 of typical mortgage cost that we have. So let's just use a number right in the middle there, somewhere around $10,000 for your closing costs, because you're going to have to pay back. Another thing that you're going to have to pay back is some taxes to the seller, because here in the state of Michigan, we pay our taxes ahead. So if we close now, we're going to have to pay them for the difference of the taxes that they didn't use for the rest of the year. Okay, so let's use that $300,000 home. We're putting 10% down, so there's 30,000. We have a closing cost of 10,000. That's a total of $40,000 that you're going to have to bring to the table at the time of closing. Now, one other thing, one other big thing that comes into mind in this market right now is appraisal gap. Okay, when we offer higher than the list price, and we know it's going to most likely come, the sale price is going to be higher than the appraised value, we have to take that into consideration. So you have to bring the additional money from that to closing also, because the mortgage company is only going to pay for give the amount of money from the appraised value, not the sale value. For example, say a house, you purchase a house for 300,000. Okay, you have the $30,000 down payment. You also have the $10,000 closing costs, but it only appraised for, say, 290. Okay, now you have another $10,000 that you have to bring to the closing table, which adds up to $50,000. So you have to bring that total of $50,000 to the closing table, plus then you have your mortgage on top of that. So that'll give you some sort of idea of the type of funds that you're going to have to save up for. Again, there are a lot of different programs out there. There's still some zero down programs. The VA has a zero down program. There are also rural development programs out there that have a zero down. Now, it's very tough in this market to get those mortgages through on the offer, but some of our agents are getting those through, and we're, helping our clients out the best way that they possibly can. Okay. Now, there's a lot of paperwork to be signed at the time of closing. Okay, and you're not. It comes in a pretty good sized packet, especially with the mortgage paperwork. Okay, the real estate portion of it is very short and sweet, but the mortgages, they want to have the I's dotted, T's crossed, and everything done. So the time to get that, you're not going to be able to read through all that at the time of closing. It usually takes about an hour. So you want to sit down with your lender, you want to sit down with your real estate agent and go over those. You usually get what they call closing documents, CDs, 3 days prior to the closing. And if there's any terms or any figures that you don't understand, that's the time to ask when you get that ahead of time, when it's more relaxed and you don't have other people waiting for you and things of that nature. Now, the state of Michigan, in the state of Michigan, all residential mortgages are the same except for those items that we talked about before: the person's name, the address, the term of the terms of the mortgage itself, like is it a 30-year or a 15-year? Is a flex adjustable mortgage? Is it 3%, 4%, 5% mortgage rate? So those things, those items are changed on each mortgage, but the verbiage on how it's all set up is all the same in the state of Michigan. Okay, so when you get that packet 3 or 4 days ahead of time, those are the things that you want to look over for. Okay, it's important to read those documents, closing disclosures, which show you your loan terms, your final closing costs, and any outstanding fees. Okay, and those outstanding fees we talked about, some of those might be the taxes or a survey or application fees and things of that nature that you have with your lender. Okay, you'll get this form about three days before the closing, and once you, the borrower, sign it, these are 3 days waiting period before you can sign the mortgage loan docs. Okay, if you have any questions, this is the great time to ask your lender or your real estate. So I hope that helps you out today. If you have any questions, please contact us. I'm Bruce Webb with Bruce Webb Preferred Realtors here at Preferred Realtors, and I hope you have a great Michigan day, and let's talk soon.